We're going to go over the exercises for chapter 4, lessons 1 through 7. So you'll need Illustrator, your chapter 4, lessons 1 through 7 file, and then instructions from Cengage. Okay, so when you first open your file, there is an obstacle here. It's a perspective grid, and you're going to want to turn that off. So just hold down your Shift, Control, and I key, and that will turn off the perspective grid. Okay, lesson 1, transforming objects. So we are going to start with this mod clock. So click the selection tool and select the brown line, then click the rotate tool. Now press and hold Alt and click the bottom of the anchor point here so that we can set our origin point. So I have the Alt key, one click, and then I get this little dialog box asking me how do I want to rotate this object. So I want to rotate it 30 degrees, but I also want to make copy. So instead of OK, I'm just going to click copy. And so now you can see I have a duplicate rotated at 30 degrees. So we're going to do this 10 more times. You can go through the menu, the object transform, transform again, or you can do Control D on your keyboard. And so now I'm going to select the lines, group them. So object, group. Then I'm going to go to object, arrange, send to the back. And then I'm going to go to object, hide, selection. So I'm going to be doing the exact same thing with this orange ball here, rotating it at the same angle. So you'll select your orange ball and then click rotate on your toolbar. So we're going to set the origin at the center point here. So click Alt and same 30 degrees, and we are making copies. So copy. And to transform again, I'll do Control D on my keyboard. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing with this little tick here. I'm going to use the same origin point that I set up. So now I just have to select that and then do Control D. And then deselect. So going to move the little clock hands to the center. And I have my smart guides on. I forgot to mention that. So if you want to have your smart guides on, Control U on your keyboard, or you can turn them on in the view menu. But now I'll go to Object, Show All, and my clock hands will return. Okay, so moving to the next exercise, I'm going to use the shear tool. So select all, and then we're going to edit, copy, edit, paste in front. So now I'm just going to open my swatches panel and choose the graphite swatch. So now click the shear tool. It's behind scale. And then I'm going to hold down my Alt key and define my origin point right here on the edge of this R. So Alt, click once. So I'm going to enter 45 here in the dialog box. Make sure horizontal is selected and then click OK. So now I'm going to click the scale tool, which is behind shear now. I'm going to hold down my Alt key and it says click any of the bottom points. So whichever one, Alt key, click. Then in your non-uniform, you are going to put 100 in the horizontal and 50 in the vertical. And then click OK. So now I'll go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Then deselect. When just select the orange text, and I'm going to give it a 1-point black stroke. All right, so on to the next one. This is reflect. So you're going to select all and zoom in to the top anchor point. Click the reflect tool on the toolbar, which is behind your rotate tool. And then we're going to press the Alt key and establish our origin point right here. So I'm doing a vertical reflection here, and I'm making a copy. So now what I want to do is even out where these points are located and then join them. So I'm going to make a little selection right here. Oh, hold on, deselect, get your direct selection tool because we're selecting specific anchor points. So now do your little selection here. You'll go to Object, Path, Average, both, and then click OK. Then you'll go to Object, Path, Join. And so now those points are connected and it's only one point there. I'm going to do the same for the bottom. So direct selection tool, select both of these points, Object, Path, Average, OK, Object, Path, Join. And so now this is a solid object that can be filled. All right, so moving on to distort. So first thing that we're going to do is select the little box here, and then go to our free transform tool. So when you click that, you'll get this little tear off menu with different ways that you can distort the perspective. And you'll notice when you put your cursor over these anchor points that you get kind of these wild looking arrows. So if I start to pull and drag, and then I hold down Shift and Control, I now am getting an angle of perspective. Then it says to undo that, so Control Z. And then to do it again, but this time holding down Shift, Control, and Alt. So start by dragging, then press your keys, and we're getting a different angle. So you're going to release your mouse key and then release your keyboard keys. All right, and so for this last bit, you're going to start pulling this anchor point kind of down. It's going to do this like weird rotate thing. And then hold down your Shift, Control, Alt keys. And you can see you can give that a different kind of perspective distort. All right, so I'm going to release my mouse and then release my keyboard keys. All right, so for this one, I guess we'll go to the instructions. That'll work, right? So we're going to create offset paths here in a very specific measurement. So select your square, go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and then in the dialog box here, we're going to set negative 0.125. And whenever you're using negative, that means that the offset is going to go inside of the shape. So if this was a positive value, it would be going outside of the shape. Then you click OK. So I'm going to repeat this. Unfortunately, I can't do transform again. But the good thing is that I don't have to select or deselect while I'm doing this. Anytime you create an object like this, it is automatically selected for you. So Object, Path, Offset Path, same value, OK. And then Object, Path, Offset Path, OK. Object, Path, Offset Path, and OK. And so all of these are spaced perfectly even. All right, so for this next one, we are going to outline a stroke. So this is just a regular line, and we're going to change it. They say 36. You want to enter the exact value, but somewhere large. And so right now, this is just, a regular path line that you make lines with. So what we want to do is turn it into an object. So we're going to go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. And so when we do that, this is no longer a line. It is now a closed shape. So if you select it with your direct selection tool, you can see that it now has all of these little anchor points where you can move things around and create different effects. All right, so moving to compound paths. So the first thing they want you to do is cut the red circles so that you can see that underneath this life preserver thing is a solid shape. It has some sort of gradient applied. And then there's the flag thing behind it. So now do paste in place. So what we're going to do here is cut a hole in the life preserver using this circle. So first thing is select the flag thing behind it. And then if you want, I put the little sample there, you can just use your eyedropper tool. Man, your eyedropper tool to change it to that gradient. And then deselect. So now we're going to select both circles here, holding your shift key. And then we're going to go to Object, Compound Path, Make. And so what has happened is I have now cut a hole through this shape. My letters went to the back. That's not a big deal. What I'm going to do is just rearrange. So go to Object, Arrange, send backward, and then reposition that. But yeah, there's a hole there now. Okay, so we're going to skip the next exercise and go into the heart pads. So let's see. So it's telling us all about the Pathfinder and the shape modes. So first thing we're going to do is get our Pathfinder panel open. You'll go under Window, Pathfinder. All right, so we're going to select both circles here. And in our Pathfinder panel, we're going to click Unite. So I'm going to move that down just a little bit and move this diamond shape up so that it's somewhat flush with the edges. That'll work. So now I'm going to delete this top anchor point. So under your pen tool, you have the delete anchor point tool. Just click once and it's gone. And so now I'm going to select both objects, and then holding my Alt key, I'm going to press the Unite button. So Alt, Unite. And so those are joined, but they are joined as a compound path. So both of those shapes still exist. They're made into a compound path now. All right. So we want to remove the black stroke and add a red fill. So I'm going to activate my fill, and you can go in your swatches or your color panel and choose a red. Let me back up. You need to select your objects to affect them. So there we go. All right, and then the next step is to draw a rectangle that's going to cover the hole here, the hole in our heart. And we're going to make it black. So now we're going to select all and hold the Alt key again while using the Unite button. And so now that is a part of our little group here. So we're going to double click the scale tool to get the dialog box. And then we're going for non-uniform 90 in the horizontal and 100 in the vertical. And then click OK. So now we're going to rotate our heart 180 degrees. So click rotate under the reflect tool. I'm sorry, double click rotate under the reflect tool, and you're going to change the angle to 180 and then OK. And now we're going to hide this. So go to Object, Hide, Selection. So we're going to build the second part of our shape, starting with the rectangle tool. Click once on your artboard and enter 1.5. Oops. And then I want that to have a black stroke with no fill. And then I'm going to draw a circle. So click once, and you're going to enter 1.75 for the circle, and OK. So now we're just going to move the circle using my smart guides to kind of even it out here. Maybe just a little more, about like that. So make sure you keep your circle selected or reselect it. And then we're going to go back to the reflect tool underneath rotate. So reflect. We're going to choose the center of the square as our reference point. And we're going to hold Alt when we choose that. Sorry, I did that incorrectly. Let me get out of here. Okay. So reflect, hold Alt, click on the center. And we are making a vertical copy. So now we're going to select all three shapes, and we're going to click the minus front button on the Pathfinder panel. So it's the second one right here. Click it once, and it subtracted those two shapes from the square. So now we're going to apply a black fill here. I'm going to move it down and then show my heart again. I'm going to kind of line it up so that it looks like a spade. And then this is the step that drives me crazy. But you're supposed to select everything and then click the Unite button. I have not been able to get that to work. So what I'll have you do, and I put a note here as well, is select all, hold your Alt key, and then click the Unite button. And so that made it a compound shape. Okay, so for the next part, we're going to create a star. So find your star tool, click once on your artboard. You're going to do radius 1 of 1 inch, radius 2 will be 3 inches, and an 8-point star. Then click OK. So we're going to fill the star with a yellow or gold color. And then I'm holding Shift, select both shapes, and I'm going to use my Align tools in the control panel to get these centered. So I did horizontal align center and then vertical align center. And then I'm just going to move that back to the middle. So this part gets a little tricky. Might have to do it more than once. We'll see. But you're going to select the spade. Then you're going to go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste in Front. Now holding the Shift key, you're going to click on the star. So ideally, the top spade that you copied and the star are both selected now, but the original spade is in the back, ideally. So let's see. So then it says to click the intersect shape mode button on the Pathfinder panel. And that is the result that I have gotten more than once. So let's see. Maybe if I reselect, hold Shift. So I'm not 100% sure why it does this sometimes. One more thing I'm going to try is holding Alt and doing it, and that worked. Why? I don't know. So I'll make a note here in step 7, also hold the Alt key. All right, and then click outside to deselect. And there you go. All right, so for this next one, we're going to use this red line here to divide this star. So select the red line and then double click the rotate tool. It's under the reflect tool. And then we're going to enter 30 into the box, and we're going to make a copy. And then repeat the transformation 4 times. So Control D, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to select all. And in the Pathfinder panel, we are going to use the divide button. Which is this one. And so now if I use my direct selection tool, I can select individual pieces to make different colors. You can also just select them all at once. So I'm holding the Shift key to do this. And there we go. right. So moving to the next one, compound shapes. So what we're going to do is select both of these yellow circles. Sorry, switch back to your regular selection tool. Select those circles. And then holding the Alt key, we're going to do the exclude button on the Pathfinder panel, which is not that one. This one. All right, so let's see. Yes, we are holding Alt for this. And so now where these two overlapped, it excluded the middle. So then we can take our direct selection tool and move these around. Now, I have a hard time moving with these little widgets being on. What you can do, you have two choices. You can go into your view menu and you can do hide corner widget. Just don't forget that you did that because you're going to need it later. And then you would be able to click hold on there. Now deselect and then click, and then you could move this around. You could also select these anchor points and see how they are affected by the new shape. If you don't want to turn your corner widget on and off, there's a tool underneath the direct selection tool called the group selection tool. And it is designed for things that are grouped. When you create a compound path, you have a group there. So it works for that. All right, so now we're going to select the two green circles. And then we are going to hold Alt down and choose this intersect button. And so that one did the exact opposite. So it got rid of the two circles there and left what was in the middle. And the same thing applies. You can use your group selection tool to move around the circles and see how they affect each other. Ooh, I made a line. Okay, so the next one. So you're going to select all, press the Alt key, and click the exclude button. Then you're going to deselect, and using your direct selection tool, you're going to select each one of these squares. So there's one, holding shift, there's two, and there's the third. And then it says to move them to the right. So about right there. And like I said, if you want to hide the widgets or use the group selection tool, you should be able to move with those as well. So now drag and drop a copy of the three squares. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key. It's giving me a plus sign, which doesn't necessarily mean it's going to move, but maybe it does. Oh, it does. Yay, yay, yay. Okay. And so there you go. And so now we're going to select each circle. I'm sorry, scale each circle 150% using the transform each command. So I'm going to deselect and then back to my direct selection tool. And I'm going to click on the circles. So holding Shift. Then I'll go to Object, Transform, Transform Each. And we'll do 150, 150. And then click OK. So they are now larger. And now I'm just going to scale the center circle. So I'm going to deselect and then select just the center circle. Double click my scale tool. I'm going to do a uniform scale, 200. And then OK. And then I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. So now press your Alt key and click the Intersect button on the Pathfinder panel. So that is this one. So Alt, click, and it kind of did like a clipping mask around those other ones. Okay, so I think we're finished with the Pathfinder panel. Yay. Okay, so now we're going to go into round corners, and this is why you want to be able to see those widgets, because you're going to need them for here. So if you did turn your widgets off, go to View and then Show Corner Widget. All right, so using the Direct Selection tool, I'm going to click the interior of the blue shape. And you can see every single corner has a corner widget where you can round the corner. So click and drag the topmost corner widget towards the center of the object. As you drag, all the corners become increasingly round. Now press and hold the Alt key and click any corner widget. And it has like an inverted type shape. While still holding the Alt key, click the corner widget again. There we go. And so now it's changed. It's essentially cycling through the types of corners that you can make in this tool. So now hold the Alt key, click the corner widget again, and we're back to where we started. Now drag the corner widget away from the center of the object and the shape will be restored all the way to its points. All right, so deselect all. Select the top anchor point of the blue object with the Direct Selection tool. So the reason why that's not working is because I didn't make it all the way into a point. There you go. You got to finish it. So select this. Notice it's filled and the other ones are not. So that's how you know that that one is selected. So now it says to click and drag the top corner widget. Since I only selected that one point, you can see the rest of them are not moving, just the one. And then double click the corner widget. And you get this little dialog box where you can specify exactly how round you want your corners. So here they say 25. We're working in inches, so you don't want to put a radius of 25 inches in here. You want 0.25. So I put a little note for you there about that. All right. And then click OK. Now select the anchor point at the bottom of the blue object with the direct selection tool. I'm going to deselect and then select the anchor point. Double click the corner widget and enter 0.25. Okay. Select both orange objects. Hold shift and select the other one. And then on the control panel, enter 25 in the corners text box. So when your screen is super small like this one, you probably won't see it, but there is a little text box that comes up in your control panel. So you'll want to enter 0.25 in it. And then you can click outside to apply it. So now select the far left and the far right anchor points on the blue object with the direct selection tool. So let me deselect. And then select this one, hold shift and select the other one. And then on the control panel, click corners. And you're going to do the inverted round option with the 0.25. So corners, the inverted round, 0.25. And that is it for this one. Next, we're going to do the shape builder tool. All right, so you're going to want to select all here. And then click the shape builder tool on your toolbar. And it says to set the fill and stroke color to pink and none. So pink fill, none stroke. I'll just use my color picker here. So now click and drag to highlight the objects shown. So with the shape builder, when you hover above and you have this plus sign, you are building. So you're adding to your shape. So we start here, and then I'm just dragging a line down to the bottom one. So now there's my shape. And then I'm going to drag to these two. So now we're going to get rid of the rest of this. And all you have to do is hold the Alt key. So notice I have the plus sign right now. And when I hold the Alt key, it turns into a minus. So hold your Alt key and then do the same thing. Just drag a little line here. And that's it. Okay, so last stretch, we're going to do clipping masks. So you're going to want to move your rectangle above this clipping mask, or I'm sorry, above these spheres here. And then to make sure that your rectangle is in the front, we'll go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. So now we're just going to select, go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And so everything that was outside of the rectangle, it's still there, but you can't see it. You've made a little window. So now I'm going to select this and I'm going to lock it. It's very important for this exercise that you lock all of these clipping masks as you go. Okay, so for the three at the bottom, they have already made these into a compound shape for you. Normally, if you just have 3 circles and you try to make a clipping mask, it's not going to work because Illustrator will only recognize one window. But if you make something into a compound shape, then it's considered one object, so that will work. So you just want to move these and then select all of that, go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. So now we're going to apply a black stroke and we're going to go through the selection menu. So normally, if you just were to select, as we do regularly, and you wanted to put a stroke here, the stroke is going to affect not just the mask, but also whatever is inside of the mask. And that's not what we want. So you're going to go through the selection menu, select, Object, Clipping Mask. And so this allows us just to select the mask itself and not the objects that are inside. And then you can apply the black stroke. Now select all of those and go to Object, Lock, Selection. Click on them a couple times, make sure they're not going anywhere. All right, so for this next one, we're going to start by moving the large text over here onto the smaller text. Then we're going to deselect and select just the small text, and we're going to hide it. So now you're going to position this magnifying glass over the G. And we're going to make a clipping mask with the word magnify and the circle. So hold Shift to select both. And then you're going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And so what has happened whenever you use an object for a clipping mask is it loses all of its attributes. So we need to go back in and add those back. Now, if we were just to, let's say, try to do it right now, it's not going to work. We have to go through and select only the clipping mask. So deselect, then go to Select, Object, Clipping Mask. Now we're going to add gray stroke. I'm going to open up my swatches, just pick gray, make it about 8 points. And then for my fill, I'm going to pick a very, very light blue and then deselect. So now I can show my other text and it looks like it's magnified. So select these, go to Object, lock selection. Okay, so the next one is text as a clipping mask. Just like the 3 circles over here, if this is not made into a compound path, which right now, look, it's just outlines. If it is not made into a compound path, it is not going to work. So you have to select each letter and then go to Object, Compound Path, Make. And so now this is one object, and you can use it as your window for your clipping mask. So select your word and the little green box behind it. You're going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. So now we're going to position this little squiggle onto the mask. And then we're going to go to Edit, Cut. And now to our selection menu, we're going to select the mask, select Object, Clipping Mask. And now we'll paste in back. And so we're adding our squiggle to the mask. So we're going to do the same thing for all of these objects. So I'm just going to move them. I'll start with these. Move these up here. And I'm going to go to Edit, Cut, Select, Object, Clipping Mask, and then Edit, Paste them back. And so now you can see those are added to the clipping mask. And put our little star thingies in here. Select those. Edit, Cut, Select, Object, Clipping Mask, and then Edit, Paste them back. Now all of our objects are a part of our mask. So we're going to put a black stroke on this. So again, you'll go select Object, Clipping Mask, and then select your stroke and 1 point black. Then you're going to select everything and go to Object, Lock Selection. All right, so last we're going to look at the Draw Inside modes here at the bottom of your toolbar. So most of the time you're going to be in normal drawing mode, but you have Draw Behind and you have Draw Inside as well. So you're going to select this blue square here, and then you're going to click the Draw Inside, which is the last one. And so you see there's a little dotted line there setting our parameters for being inside this area. So now we're going to create an ellipse and draw it on top of here, about the same size as this pink one. So my shape tool, I'll do an ellipse. I'm going to make it green. And then I'm going to move it kind of to the middle. And you can see, even though it's outside, when I have Draw Inside on, you don't see the edges. So now we're going to go back into normal mode. Select the word mask. And right now this is live text, so we need to go to type, create outlines, and then to object, compound path, make. So we're gonna fill this with a green color. So have your fill activated, choose whatever green you want. So now select the pink ellipse and cut it. Edit, cut, select mask, and draw inside. And then edit, paste. And so now our ellipse is inside of the draw inside area. And then you can just go back to normal mode. And that is it for transformations.